Oh, you lived in the Caribbean. Well, it also means discipline. I joke around. I even warn my guests when they visit that the rum is cheaper than water and they are heavy pours at the bars. And that's great when you're vacationing. Who doesn't want to have fun like that? But when you live there full time, you need to have the discipline of waking up in the morning and making sure to go to work and taking care of items that need to be done.
How do you manage 40 units in the Caribbean from New Hampshire? What essential tech do you need to deliver exceptional experiences for owners and guests? And why is hospitality such a fulfilling industry? Robin Bass from Premier Properties USVI will be answering all these questions and more on today's Host Planet podcast. Robin, thank you for joining us on the Host Planet podcast. How do you manage 40 units in the US Virgin Islands remotely from New Hampshire?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be able to speak with you today. So thank you. Yes, that is a great question. How do I manage 40 properties all the way from New Hampshire to St. Croix at the US Virgin Islands? Well, it's a combination of things. I always say I'm old fashioned meets modern. And I did live full time in St. Croix for 9 years. And that's what helps. I always say that the currency in St. Croix is kindness, and it's very relationship driven. I lived and worked in New York City off and on for 20 years, and then I moved to St. Croix at the US Virgin Islands. And you learn in a very short amount of time, your management style needs to be a little bit different. Luckily, I grew up in New England and New Hampshire. That's where I am right now. And I like to say I brought both the New York City work ethic and the New England charm, so to speak, to St. Croix. And that is technology. So it's a combination of, when I say I'm old fashioned meets modern, it really is technology meets, there's nothing like being there, forming relationships with individuals and building that trust. So that's very important. So if anyone is interested in working remotely for a Caribbean or different location, you need to live there, and at least for 5 years full time. I was for 9 years full time. I'm so glad I did. What an extraordinary opportunity when you hear it. Oh, you lived in the Caribbean. Well, it also means discipline. So I joke around. I even warn my guests when they visit that the rum is cheaper than water and they are heavy pours at the bars. And that's great when you're vacationing. Who doesn't want to have fun like that? But when you live there full time, you need to have the discipline of waking up in the morning and making sure to go to work and taking care of items that need to be done. But I also say, again, go back to relationship driven. Currency is kindness. And where I bring my New England, when I said charm earlier, I grew up baking. My mother influenced that very much so. And that is actually what I brought to the table in St. Croix as well. Every year I make my homemade apple butter, and I give that to my vendors and clients and employees as a thank you. So, not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm going to be making my homemade apple butter and placing in my check-in luggage and bringing it to St. Croix, because I'll be going on December 9th for over a week.
Brings it home, doesn't it? It's a people business. Okay, real talk now for all you hosts out there. You know that moment when your guest messages you again with, "Hey, what's the Wi-Fi code?" Or you're staring at 5 different calendars, wondering if you've accidentally double booked the cottage. Yes, we've all been there. That's why here at Host Planet, we recommend Hostfully. It's basically your rental's control center. It handles bookings across all the big platforms, syncs your calendars to ensure there are no double bookings, automates guest messages, and even creates these really slick digital guidebooks that stop all the repeat questions. Honestly, it just makes your life easier and keeps your guests happier, helping you achieve those all-important 5-star reviews. And here is a little bonus. If you're a Host Planet listener, you can get $500 off onboarding for Hostfully's property management software and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. Just hit the link in the show notes and use the codes PLANET500 for the PMS and HousePlanGB for the guidebooks. And if you'd like a proper walkthrough, there's also a link to book a demo with Frank Bosey from Hostfully. He will show you how it all works. Less stress, more bookings, sorted with Hostfully. I imagine you've got really clear systems set up. Talk to us about the systems and the tech that helps you run the business.
Yes. Thank goodness for tech. It's funny. I get really excited when I talk about it. And I even had someone say to me, "Are you a techie?" I'm like, "No, I'm just curious and paranoid." And that's living in New York City for many years. I was used to CRMs. You want to show your bosses you're doing your job and documenting everything. And that is very important in property management. What I learned years ago when I first moved on island, October 30th, 2015, is that I could tell people till I was blue in the face that really I did stop by your property because I am honest. I mean, I'm very honest. In fact, I have a huge Catholic guilty conscience. I don't know if I told you this before, but my mother was a nun. So I know my father, I know you're like, wait, what's going on? Who's her father? Well, my father's not a priest. My mother left the convent and then had me years later. But with that being said, the Catholic guilty conscience is really legit. So with that, I loved that I came upon Streamline software that really I upgraded 3 years ago. But prior to that, I used LiveRes, and that was great for what I wanted. It was a great stepping stone because I noticed that when I was in St. Croix, and this was a new industry for me, property management. And when I inherited vacation rentals in 2016, the advice was, just create a VRBO page. Okay. So all of a sudden I have 5 separate properties and I created 5 different VRBO pages. And when an inquiry would say, "What do you have for me?" and I email in the links, I wasn't getting bookings. And I was convinced, this is my personal feeling, I was convinced because we have an increase of ADD world that they were looking on VRBO and said, "Oh, wait, that place looks prettier. I'm going to choose that." Of course they did, because that's what they wanted. So I thought I need to have a website with only the properties I manage that I can book online, then I can accept payment online. And then I came across LiveRes, and that was wonderful. That provided the opportunity that I needed. But I wanted more. I wasn't happy with the owner's report area. And again, accountability or Catholic guilty conscience or paranoid, whatever you want to call it. I knew this is not my money. It's their money. And I wanted to have transparency and build that trust with my owners. So then I upgraded to Streamline, and wow, it's fantastic. There are many other softwares out there, and I think they're all fantastic. But what I want, Streamline makes me happy right now. So with that, maintenance checks. This is very, very important because most places, and even globally, you can close up a rental for a couple of months and unplug the fridge and come back in 4 months and everything's fabulous. Well, not in St. Croix. You're on an island surrounded by the ocean, and that means salt in the air. That means rust can happen quicker. That means an AC could be working one day and then the next day it's broken. I mean, I've made my team laugh saying, "I think we have a mischievous fairy coming in there and just doing something. So do we need to bring sage?" No, I'm just kidding. But the point is, I love the tech because with a list I made for maintenance checks, check pots and pans. Can you guess why I say that?
Well, because they go missing a lot.
Nope. Rust. I don't want my guests to say, "Should I make scrambled eggs or am I going to get lockjaw?" Like, I don't want this thought to occur in their head. So I created a list and I uploaded it to Streamline, where I call them tropical troubleshooters, my maintenance tech people. And they have it on their phone and they can look at the list and say, "Okay, I checked the pots and pans, checked the AC," and can make notes. Then that's saved. And then my owners see it on their owner's portal. And this is how I can work remotely because I implemented these systems, AKA consistency, transparency, or paranoid, however you want to call it. It works. And I rather invest in this technology and pay this monthly fee every month because it's peace of mind. I want to make my owners happy. I want to make my guests happy. And by implementing tech, this will help you succeed. But I'm old fashioned meets modern, like I say. So I tell my owners, I just met with a prospective owner actually this morning doing a sales pitch. And I was going over the owner's reports. And I joke around, I do use my mother in my sales pitches because with the owner's report, again, it's not my money, it's their money. So I joke around that my mom in heaven sees me and so does Jesus, my stepdad. So don't worry, I'll do right by you. So I use those personal examples to show I'm here for you because in property management, at the end of the day, these are other people's homes and we are privileged. I tell my team, we are so lucky to be able to manage these homes, whether it be a 1-bedroom condo or a 5-bedroom house. I want to manage all of that because everyone they deserve to enjoy paradise and vacation, no matter if you're on a budget or not, because life's too short. And I treat all my guests the same because I want them to have fun. I literally care. So I hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. Yeah, a superb answer. And I love your philosophy and your way of hosting. I think it's really refreshing, actually. So in terms of keeping the guests happy, then you've talked about how you keep the owners happy with the transparency and basically what you're seeing, they're seeing because they can see it with the tech. How do you keep guests happy and what are your top tips for delivering that outstanding guest experience?
Thank you. Well, I'm humbled every day. I think like I said, I love making people happy. I really do, because I think it helps. I'm a very humble upbringing, raised by a single parent. So I know it all too well, that feeling of we're going to save those pennies to vacation for a great experience. So I hold that experience close to my heart with my guests because I don't take that for granted. I never look at my guests as a number. I always think, gosh, they took the time, they're saving, they're pinching pennies so they can enjoy this. So with that, again, old fashioned meets modern. Every property that I manage, I have an on-site welcome book. And think of, when you go in a hotel and you have that binder of information in your hotel room, well, that's what I use for the property. But I have a nice welcome book when they enter and I laminate the pages because elements of the island, little things. It's all about the little things. So we laminate paper because if you keep a piece of paper out for even a week, it looks like it's 20 years old. So that's why we laminate. Also, when you open it up, bullet points. People are on vacation. They're not going to read paragraphs. They're like, I don't have time for that. Moving on. So bullet points. What's the Wi-Fi? Right away, Wi-Fi password and username. Because why? Well, the world is over if we don't have it. Well, for the guests, because it's very important. You never know what's going on in their life. And always recognizing it's not about you. I think with the increase of technology, with the increase of selfies, I feel like we've created a self-me society. And I'm trying to, I have this passion of promoting it's cool to be kind. And when that guest calls you and upset, it's not about you. Hold your breath. If a guest is yelling at you because they're upset, it's nothing you did. I've even put my phone on mute because I'm like, I need to, say, can you hold on a moment? Let me check on this. I'm not a robot. So I just put it on mute, take a deep breath, count to 10, go to a happy place and put it back on and then back on the phone. Thank you for holding. I appreciate your patience and having the tone and the empathy. I think that's important. When you on the phone, oh, how are you? I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. I apologize that happened to you. Let me see what I can do and I'll be in touch. Just hearing the tone, showing them empathy, letting their voice being heard. And then also responding in a timely manner. So I'm always very honest with my guests, that saying, listen, I'm here for you. Think of me as your big sister. And if you have any questions, call or text me. But I do sleep. It's the Caribbean. It's not 24 hours. So I let them know if there is something midnight, don't worry. First thing in the morning, I'm going to respond to you. So I'm here for you. And then to go back to the on-site welcome book, we have helpful information for their stay. And the more information we display in a warm, fuzzy way, the less calls. Example, something so simple, but we're not a hotel. So we don't have a plethora of toilet paper. We have 2 rolls of toilet paper per bathroom, and it's up to the guest to replenish. So we make sure to put that in our documentation before they arrive. And then I was still getting questions. So we put it in the welcome book. We put a pager and made it fun with like a funny picture of, replenish their toilet paper towels on their own. Guess what? My calls stop by like 90% of, hey, can you send me some toilet paper? So there's always a warm and fuzzy way to get your point across. So it's documentation on-site welcome book. But what happens before they arrive? So due to my travels, international conferences, not only I was fortunate to meet you, but also I met the team of Touch Stay, and they are remarkable. I love the team. They're so nice. And they have this amazing on-site welcome guide. And I love the fact that I talked with them and I said, I want this on-site welcome guide to reflect my on-site welcome guide. So I was very involved to make sure that happened. And now when a guest books, they have 5 to 7 different touch points of emails from me and include the on-site welcome guide. And that has decreased my calls immensely as well because it has the detailed directions. See, in St. Croix, GPS is not the best. So you need to have detailed directions because you could put in one address and I've gotten phone calls. I'm in the hills. Isn't this a waterfront property? Yes, it is. Let's focus on the directions I emailed you. And then I've literally stayed on the phone with the guests until they check in. So that is how I handle it. Documentation, be paranoid, have the directions, but be available on call because of the location I'm in. I need to be. I can't just turn my phone off for a whole day. That's not possible. Maybe for a couple of hours. Actually, I never turn my phone off. I always have it on because if there is an emergency, I've got my 2 phones, my personal and my work phone beside my bed, to be honest, because there could be an emergency come up at 2 a.m. So just in case I need to have it there. But I do, for peace of mind, I do keep it to the side so I can sleep.
I can believe it. I think a lot of property managers go through the same thing.
Yes.
You mentioned before as well, you were sending people to VRBO links previously, and then you thought, I need to send them somewhere where they can only see my properties. So when it comes to direct bookings, how have you developed that side of your business?
Thank you for asking. Slowly but surely. I like to consider myself the Switzerland of many things, whether it be in St. Croix. For example, I don't have a real estate license. I stay in my lane. I'm 100% property management. And that was interesting. People were not familiar with that in St. Croix when I first did that. And now they see the benefit because realtors can refer business my way. But when they want to sell it again, they can go right back to the realtor. And now they say, oh, wait, this is great. She's not going to steal my client. She's going to make me look better and make my client revenue. Exactly. So that's how I position myself as a Switzerland online as well. Let's be honest. I wouldn't have a business without Airbnb or VRBO. That's the truth. And Homes and Villas by Marriott International, I love them. I'm part of them. So in St. Croix. But I wouldn't have a business without them. But I like to provide options. So by an opportunity for guests to book online directly on my website, I've just built that. I built the presence in a Switzerland way. And then so they see on Airbnb, I've gotten guests, they've seen, oh, she manages a good amount of properties in St. Croix. Let me Google her. They do. they get my website, they book direct, and they save money. But again, some people are more comfortable. I have a guest who's booked on VRBO for 5 years in a row. 5 years in a row. She could save some money, but she's more comfortable in booking VRBO. So that's why I say let's have those options there. But also another thing I'm trying this year, because we're a visual society. So, and when you enter, and I said earlier about my welcome book, so when you enter a property, all premier properties, USVI properties, when you enter, you see the welcome book. We have it now on a tray and a take some, leave some basket. I'll go on about that in a second. But then I had the idea of what if to enhance, entice people to book again right away, created a QR code for that property. So when you go into Hibiscus Beach House, you're going to see the welcome book. Now we have a QR code laminated in a little 3x5 frame and said, enjoying your stay, book here, and makes it easier for the guests. I like to think because their last night they'll be there. So maybe they had some rum and thought, oh, look, we can book again for next year, dear. And then they do it. They're all set. They go back and say, oh, I guess we're coming back next year, Frank. Well, that's what I'm hoping at least. But anyway, at least providing the options for them to book direct and make it more enticing. But also we're cost effective because when you book direct, because we all know, again, I want to be diplomatic and neutral. Airbnb increased their commissions for America. They already did that, and I know in Europe several years ago, but they just did it this October, 15.5% to hosts. That's a lot. So thankfully, because of the vacation rental software I invested in, when I talked to that saying, okay, now when you're an Airbnb, we need to increase the rates by 18%. And now I just said 15%, why 18%? Because Airbnb is charging the credit card fees. So we got to increase by 18%. I did that in October. I've gotten more bookings on Airbnb the last couple of months. It's not hurting. It's not hurting me by increasing that. Just when owners say, why are the rates different everywhere? And then I have to explain again to benefit you. I said, I don't want you charge that 15% commission, and then I won't get any commission either. So that's not good. So I like that we can be creative in helping out our owners to make more revenue, but then working the system. Does that make sense?
It certainly does, yeah. And I think as well with your QR code, I've got an idea for you. How about a QR code on a bottle of rum?
Oh, I like that idea.
Once people have drunk it, then they're like, all right, then they're really ready to book. Really ready to book. Oh my gosh,
again. I'm gonna make a note of that. Are you thinking that because I gave you some rum in Rome?
maybe it's that. I don't know, but I'll take my 5% commission. I'll send you a link. In relation to extra tech as well, are you implementing anything AI related? Is that something you're interested in?
I'm intrigued by it. I haven't implemented. I mean, I use it, very basic AI on a regular basis, ChatGPT. For me personally, because you can tell I'm passionate about what I do with every emotion. So when this is a industry, things can get heated and email exchanges. And I said, ChatGPT will help me. So sometimes I'll write something. They always say write something but don't send it. I write something, I put it through ChatGPT and say it better. And wow, so much more polished because, I'm a passionate, emotional human being and I get that. I'm 50 now, so I get it. But I like to use AI and ChatGPT to be like, let's soften up that response a little bit and be professional. So I do that for email responses, even for documentation, even my social media posts now. I love writing, but sometimes it just needs to be polished. So that's where I use ChatGPT.
Yeah, sometimes if you're doing something quickly, send it to ChatGPT, make it better, make it better for me.
Exactly.
I want to ask you as well, kind of how you got into the short-term rentals world, because you were saying it's just over 10 years ago by the sound of it. So tell us what you were doing beforehand and how you got into this world, and maybe, the skills from your previous career, how you're implementing them today.
Oh, thank you for asking. So, yes, I have a story for everything. My own assistant was like, you need to start writing a book. Um, that's saying, if anything, and if anyone is listening, you know what, no matter what age, I want to say every experience, everything you learn helps you for the next step. And I wish I knew that in my 20s, but because in your 20s and 30s, it was for me, I was like, I just wasn't finding that fit for me. My former life, I actually went to Johnson & Wales University, which is mainly known for culinary and hospitality, but I majored in fashion. So my former life is in fashion. I studied in Paris for a month at the Paris Fashion Institute in 1996, concentration in couture and pret-a-porter. I even worked in New York City in 1997 at Guess Incorporated as a receptionist. But I wasn't, I love fashion, but in the 90s, my personality really didn't fit in fashion. And I love carbs. Sorry, nothing like bread and butter. But anyways, that was 90s fashion. So I really wasn't finding my fit. And that's okay, because a lot of my friends have been successful doing that. But then I came upon hospitality and I thought, this is more me. My mother even knew it in college. I was a tour guide for my university at 19 years old. I was working 50 hours a week and took 3 night classes. So I've always had a bit of a work ethic, and I'm more of a people person. So I worked anywhere from the Tourism Bureau of New York City. I was a sales manager in membership. That meant my clients were restaurants, museums, tours. I learned so much. I love the history of New York City. And I worked at Bubba Gump Shrimp Company restaurant in Times Square. I was the sales manager there. To Grand Hyatt, New York. I was the corporate sales manager in 2004. And what I would do is I traveled domestically and provided sales presentations to American Express travel agents. So as you can tell, I have the gift of gab. So all these things, I learned a lot and I'm grateful, but I wasn't finding my fit. And then I was an operations manager for a receptive tour operator handling inbound travel to New York City. So I'd handle anywhere from guests from 5 to 200 people and coordinate off the beaten path events, et cetera, in New York City. So I learned a lot, met a lot of incredible people. And then an opportunity came to me in 2015. I visited St. Croix in August, and within 3 days, I remember sitting looking at the Caribbean Sea and having a cup of coffee and thinking, why don't we move here? And I was with someone at the time. I was like, why don't we do real estate from here? And he was shocked. I was like, let's make a pros and cons list. Before I know it, because I was studying real estate in New York City, I thought, let me try this. And I visited St. Croix. I knew it. I had to. So long story short, moved down there 2.5 months later. I had a temporary real estate license, and then property management opportunities fell in my lap in 2016. And the rest is history. I stayed in my lane and I feel very blessed. So every experience leads you to the next, and you never know what the future will bring.
Superb. I love it. What a story. Yeah. Just turn up to the island and right, okay, that's it. Staying here. All right then, Robin. So we got a few questions to finish. We ask these to everybody who comes on the podcast. What's your favorite brand in the short-term rental industry, apart from your own, of course?
Oh, thank you. Oh, my favorite brand as in another property management company?
It can be a property management company. It can be a tech business. It can be anything in the STR business, and you like their brand.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I have to be honest. I know I'm being neutral again, Switzerland. But I mean, I've friends around the world now that I feel very fortunate to have met Antonio of Vacation Rental World Summit, and he changed my life when I went September 2021. So I admire him, what he does. And I finally found my people, I feel like. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. Professionally, meeting all of you in Europe, and we all have the same passion and great care and concern to be better, to do better by a guest, by our owners. And that's a beautiful thing. So I admire everyone in this industry. A friend of mine has properties in Missouri. I just admire everything that she does. To the team at TouchStay, I was part of a mastermind group. I just adore everyone. Richard from the UK, hello. And Christophe, who created Reviews, REVYOOS.com. Look it up. I love that system because, we're in the business of reviews. We all have reviews from Google and VRBO and Airbnb. No one has time to research that. So I like it now because Christophe was genius creating this. I like it when guests and owners, I can say, click on that guest reviews on my website and look, I'm not perfect, but a majority are 5 stars. So, and again, those 3-star ones humble you. Like, I checked whether twice. Why is she giving me a 3-star review? It humbles you. So with that, and then there's my friend Daniela in Marbella, who has overseas school apartments. I look up to her every day. She is her energy is amazing, her focus and her intelligence, and her husband is fabulous as well. And then my friend Deborah who's in Nice, originally from Australia. I mean, there's so many women, and Lisa Rhodes, I can't bring out her too. So there's so many amazing individuals I met in this industry that have a passion to be better and to take care of our guests and be honest. Because at the end of the day, it's cool to be kind, but let's be honest. No one's perfect. Let's just, we're all trying to navigate this life together. I just say, let's just be nice and have fun with it.
Amen to that. Yes. The next question was going to be an individual in this space, but you've named loads of people anyway, so we'll skip past that one. Yeah. Final question then. What's been your biggest lesson learned since getting involved in the vacation rentals industry?
Wow. To not take everything so personally. I'm a people pleaser meets entrepreneur. That's tough. To not take everything so personally, and learning to I know everyone's talking about self-care and take care of yourself, but I'm Gen X, and growing up, it was all, okay, that's terrible that happened, but got to suck it up, put on your big boy pants and move on. And that is a great concept and work ethic to have. But sometimes for me, I've learned I need to have a cup of coffee. And if it's 7 a.m. and I'm getting texts coming in, I have to say, I'm in a meeting right now. I'll get back to you in the next 20 minutes because I need that time. And I think that's what I've learned, to not take everything personally. I still do. So I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect. And also just taking that 20 to 30 minutes of time. And that's where I know it may be a white lie. I'm in a meeting. But I'm in a meeting with myself, and I am looking at where I'm very blessed where I live right now. I'm looking at the trees and just focused and taking a breath, saying it's going to be an amazing day. But sometimes you just need that 20 to 30 minutes to start your day and have some quote unquote me time. And then your day is just going to be so much better.
Very much agreed. Yeah, you do have to have a thick skin, and sometimes you think you've developed a thick skin, but yeah, like you say, that 2-star or 3-star review comes in, and it goes out of the window a little bit. But anyway, Robin, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the Host Planet podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great to chat to Robin Bass there from Premier Properties USVI. That's just about it for today's episode. Remember, this podcast is brought to you in collaboration with Hostfully, which is trusted by short-term rental professionals across the globe. As a House Planet listener, you get 2 exclusive offers. $500 off onboarding for Hostfully's property management software. Just use the code PLANET500, and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. Use the code HostPlanetGB. To grab these deals, click the link in the show notes or head to hostfully.com. For more free education, tips and trends from the STR industry, visit houseplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, happy hosting.